The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why they actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relation.
If we retrace our steps, we can still feel it all. Pride. Pure joy. And the ultimate risk. Love and respect. Shocking the world. And showing out. All for that sweet confetti feeling. When you step into the greatness of this moment, you'll feel it too. March Madness. Feel it here.
We all know the destination.
There's the pass to Leitner.
Through for the win.
Smart takes the shot.
Whitberg. Jordan.
Garchi Diacono gives it to Jenkins.
Gone. Maestro did it.
Oh, it's a long way.
They won it.
Indiana wins the championship. Who has the championship? For Arizona.
North Carolina is the national champion.
But it's the journey that defines us.
They are going to play very, very hard. But we're going to play harder than they do. This is going to be a fight. The only way we can even come close to getting this is really dig in and get in the fight.
One stumble, and it may be the end.
I'm so proud of you seniors for fighting.
Each obstacle prepares you for the true test. Every game, every moment is one step closer to the destination. Are you ready?
Wow, welcome to the Blueprint and the March Madness 2023. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my favorite word, I am truly excited. I mean, March is just so awesome. I have to say this though, real quick. I get this feeling. I always wanted this feeling as a player. I didn't get the opportunity to play in the NCAAs. I mean, I got a chance to play college basketball, but I didn't get this feeling. And many of the individuals that I brought on so far in March Madness had that experience, and they was kind of giving me the feeling of, what it was like to be in that special moment. I mean, I played a college season. I went into the conference championships, so you can get selected into the 68, 64 back then. I just wanted to hear, West Virginia University, got a bid to the NCAAs, but no, I didn't get a chance to do that. Now, after me, I like to say, I'm repeating myself, but I set up somebody, because West Virginia, kind of like a setup. When I went to West Virginia, they were good at one time with Jerry West and all those boys back in the day. And then I came on at a time when we was kind of at a low, and they finally got, a top 25 college player to come to West Virginia. And then all of a sudden, man, it was like dominoes. Then people started coming, right? So it was after me that those teams after me started to make the NCAAs consistently. As you know, we lost in the first round this year, but I never got that experience. So I like to say that I was either the seed or the water to West Virginia, getting back to its NCAA glory. So I guess I can be proud of that, right? But it's still crazy, though. I mean, as a little kid, we didn't get the chance to see as many games as we're seeing now. I think we get an overdose of games. Maybe it was one game you get to see on Saturday, maybe a game on Sunday. But now you get to see games, man, all night long. It's just bananas. I'm just excited. Last night, man, I think I actually fell asleep last night watching basketball. I mean, ECU was playing, you know, girls and boys, women and men. I mean, it's just awesome. And you know, kind of getting prepared for the lull of it all, because it's going to hit and then all of a sudden it's going to be gone after the Final Four. And we don't know what to do with ourselves. No more college basketball until next year. But we won't think about that right now. We're going to think about the excitement that's going on right now in March Madness 2023. And so let's get rolling. Let me push through some things here. So I got a very special guest today. And, you know, let me start out with my book of the week since we in March Madness. A'ja Wilson. I mean, you know, my son asked me, I think it was last year, was A'ja Wilson the face of the WNBA? And you know what? I had to agree. I mean, who wouldn't want A'ja Wilson to be the face of your face, not just the franchise, but the whole organization? I mean, you know, just class. I mean, won a championship at South Carolina, right? And then they put a statue up, I mean, you know, outside the arena. And I mean, wholesome, tough, integrity. I mean, who wouldn't want her face to be, you know, the face of the whole league? But there are many faces, but she happens to be, in my estimation right now, the main one. And she has a book out, man, an inspiring book. I mean, I didn't get a chance to get it yet. I was looking around for some basketball, and you know, I just wanted to shout out A'ja Wilson and the whole the WNBA, and you know, all these great women that are now you know, going from college basketball into the WNBA. We get to continue to watch them you know, and their amazing careers as a college player and a professional. And then also the word of the week, right? Madness, March Madness, right? That, you know, sometimes, man, words there are two sides to words, right? Like you see down below, bad behavior, madness, bad behavior. But I don't think people were acting bad during March Madness, man. They just excited. Another word for it is, man, people just excited, engaged, man. And just like I use the word bananas when, you know, you talk about madness. But that's my word of the week. You know, you can be mad. You can be in madness about something. Like I'm madly in love with my wife, you know, madly in love with my family, my grandkids. Oh man, you can just, so madness can take on, you know, a positive side and a negative side. And I'm so glad I'm on the positive side of madness, right? So that's my word of the week. And then here's my Pierce Harper affirmation moment. I don't even know if it's an affirmation moment or a quote moment. Maybe it is. Albert Einstein says that the true definition of madness is repeating the same action over and over again, but hoping for a different result. Right. So that's, you know, it's called bad coaching. You know, you keep getting bad advice all the time. You got to change that advice up. You know, people that don't know how to make adjustments, right, and keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, you know, Purdue needs to make some adjustments. They lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. They need to make some adjustments because this is like the fourth year in a row, right, that they've done the same thing and got the same results. So next year they better think about, because that's madness, right? Today, you know, you the first seed and you lose to the 16th seed, the 13th seed, whatever seeds they lost to. It's just madness. I mean, so they better change something up in Purdue. And then here we go. This is my music of the week and my movie of the week. They kind of flip-flopped here. The one with the basketball, it's 2 basketball, but the big basketball. And one of my favorites basketball movies is Fast Break. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was an awesome movie. Probably it wasn't a black market movie. It actually did see it in the movie, but a great basketball story, funny, engaging. But if you didn't get a chance, you can bring it up, man. It's probably free on YouTube, right? Check it out. And then the music to the movie, one of my favorite songs all time, by Billy Preston. If I have the Billy Preston voice, I might have sung a little bit of like, come bring me your softness, comfort me through all this madness. Woman, don't you know with you I'm born again. That's one of my favorite songs. I'm born again, right? And just awesome song, awesome movie. Hey, now don't expect when you go see the movie, it's a 2023 movie. It's back in the 70s, and so it's not going to be 4K or 4KD or whatever it is. It's not going to be any of those things, but it's going to be a good movie. Low budget, but it's going to be a good movie. So, and then next we are probably celebrating women. This is celebrating Women's History Month. We celebrate, at least for me, I celebrate women every day, because I have some amazing women, starting from my mother, my aunts, my sisters, my wife, my daughters, man, it's just awesome, to be able to celebrate the history of women. And today I'll celebrate Shirley Ralph. I mean, I remember, when the old Dream Girls, not the new Dream Girls, I had the opportunity to go see Dream Girls on Broadway. And Shirley Ralph, I don't know if many of you remember this, but Shirley Ralph was one of the stars of Dream Girls, and she's had an incredible career. I mean, and she's with Abbott Elementary. She just won an award last year. Man, we salute her on this Women's History Month. And then we give a shout out to Demetri Roberts, former Boys and Girls Club member of Mount Vernon High School basketball team, state champions. I mean, accepted a scholarship to St. Thomas Aquinas. His coach gets the job at Fairleigh Dickinson University last year, and he becomes a starting point guard, had an extra year starting point guard. And I was saying earlier, and they took down Purdue. And then, we want to cheer them on tonight. I think they play tonight, and it's going to be an awesome game tonight, man. Hey, man, don't slip up on them. You slip up and they're going to beat you, and they confident and they are good. So again, that's my shout out today. So I think without further ado, all my shout outs, all my things are gone. Let me play this video here, and then I'll introduce my guests for this morning. Coach,
a lot of memories.
I know. Coach Diane Nolan, man, had some great times at coach of Fairfield University, coach at Lafayette University, and now color analyst at Quinnipiac University. And man, they brought back some memories to me as well, So welcome to the Blueprint. This is exciting. Over 500 wins, right? Hey, let me tell you something. You look good for 500 wins because coaches will stretch you out.
Oh boy, I saw myself chewing gum, and I remember that. Oh my gosh, I'm paying the price now, but that's how stressful it was.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what? Again, that's another word that takes on two meanings, right? Because it could be bad stress. I'm sure there was a whole lot of good stress in there too, as well.
Oh, absolutely. Whether butterflies or stress.
Well, yeah, butterflies is stress. I mean, it's a form of fear, So, I mean, sometimes people see whether you're a coach or a player, right? They just see you doing what you do, and they don't think, oh, they just did that so easily. Like fear doesn't enter, butterfly doesn't, and even after 500 wins, I'm sure that every game, every game's stressful, every game you got that, because you just don't know how it's going to go. And then once it goes, you like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once that ball goes up, you're just hoping everybody, does their job. But sometimes the shooting gods aren't with you, or something happens, and you got to just play on. But you don't know.
Yeah, and on the last couple of shows that I had in regards to this series on March Madness, we were talking about, what coaches experience, like all my execution, all my preparation, all the practicing, all those kinds of things. The true essence of a coach is when players get it. I mean, when you actually see them execute all the time you spent on, working on all those things. So I'm sure you had a lot of moments like that, and a lot of moments like you're like, I don't know if we're ready for this.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, and basketball is like everything else. It's repetition. You have a plan, you get in the gym, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But when it all comes together, oh my gosh! That the players feel that also. That's when you see that extra jump in their step, and they're pointing that, thanks for the pass, yeah, we got it, and they know when it collectively it all comes together. Great feeling, but they worked on it. Often, it's not just by mistake, or chance, but they've worked at it.
Yeah. And then one of the things, one of the words we always mention in regards to playing or either coaching is you get into a zone, and I mean, it's hard to sustain it, but when you're in it, I mean, and you don't want it to ever end, and I got a question to ask you, because I experienced something, I think it was my junior year. No, my sophomore year, before we had a coaching change. And so didn't have a great season, but we peaked at the right time. And we got into the conference, and we just was in a zone. We just was balling out. And, are you superstitious? Because my coaches wore the same suit for all.
Yeah. I think we're all are superstitious. I would wear the same suit until we lost. I would keep our Christmas tree up until we had a winning record. I mean, sometimes our tree didn't go out till March, and I would fly my Christmas tree up, and I would eat the same thing. I always visited the chapel, I go there the same time, walk across campus. And yes, I mean, very superstitious. I had to stand a certain place, you know, in the national anthem and just do certain things. all the time. I can remember, I think I was going to burn. I had a purple suit and I was going to burn it after we got our first loss. I could take it to the dry cleaner. You know?
Yeah, I was wondering, because with the first game, you know, we won the first game, and then the second game, I'm looking up, and I'm talking to my teammate, and I'm like, yo, did coach have on that same suit yesterday? The coaches, yeah, like that.
Oh yeah, we're all like that. I'm sure.
Yeah. So what do you think this year? You've seen a lot of March Madness.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this year? I mean, this year, 2023.
Well, it's just so amazing, you know, so different in today's coaching, you know, with all the technology, you know, like with synergy and all of these kinds of things. Everybody knows everybody so well. So I like to watch, like, as you mentioned, like the adjustments coaches make, because you got to throw something different out. And, you know, and it's one game. And like watching, you know, FDU and watching like Princeton women the other night, you know, and the Princeton team. And it's just so exciting because, you know, they talk about, you know, quad 1 wins and quad 2 wins. And, you know, when you're a smaller school, and I was always at the smaller schools, like, you know, St. Francis, Fairfield, Lafayette, Yale. And when you get into the tournament, you forget all the quad wins. It's just one game. It doesn't matter if you're quad 1 or 4. You know, it's who's got it that night. So I think that's so exciting. And I'm so happy that some of the smaller conferences are getting their due, because those players and coaches work so hard. Not that the top teams don't, but it's nice to see them getting recognized.
Right. Yeah. And you know, being in a tournament, you know, when you play your regular season, you know, you have some games out of conference, but you have a lot of games in conference, and you have a lot of time over the years and that current year to prepare. Right now, and then you go to the, you know, to the NCAAs, and you may have a moment where you don't know this team. I mean, what's your thought process? You know, you don't know this team at all. You know.
Well, you know, you go right to grabbing film, and I can remember way back when my first NCAA tournament, we met on I-95. A team from Boston who had a film on the team that we were going to play to be able to watch it. But now you can just go right on the video. So you try to break it down, but you're right. In conference play, you know each other's tendencies. Like, you know, everything's familiar. You know how the styles, every coach has their own little style. But you go in the tournament and you're right. You don't know. I mean, you're watching it, but you haven't played it. You don't understand it. And it's a whole different ball game. But, you know, I really do think you got to put a twist in something, you know, and I think that the lower seeded teams, when they do that, and a lot of times I think players also from the higher conferences, they know, oh, we're just playing this team. You know, they can't hang with us, you know, and then when the ball goes up, they find out, oh, yeah, they can.
Yeah. You just taking it for granted. Oh, somebody's small. Or, you know, somebody slow. I mean, you know, hey, it doesn't mean somebody can't play.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
and then, you know, and the coaches and adjustments and you know, and like the FDU and the Princeton, they're playing with added incentive. You know, I mean, that, and then you know what confidence can do for you. They're so confident now that, you know, they believe they belong, and they've showed that they belong. So now and you want to keep that going.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is an exciting time, you know, and that's what I think the real exciting part is, you know, okay, you know, the number of top 4 teams end up in the Final Four. Okay, well, that's kind of what we expected, you know, but when they start to get knocked off, you're like, oh, this is different, you know.
And how about all the people with their brackets? I mean, all the pundits and on Twitter, you know, they all clicked out their brackets, and before the tournament begins, they give you all their X and O's and their takes on it, you know, and then all of a sudden there's 0 perfect brackets now. So all these guys who thought they know everything about basketball are saying like, forget it. You know, I spent all this time working on my bracket. I know all the teams. I've been there. I've read about them, wrote about them. And then day 5, no brackets.
No brackets. And the crazy part was I don't ever fill out a bracket. But this year I filled out 2, both for the men and women. Right. And, you know, it was tedious. I'm like, you know, and for most people, you know, of course, I'm going to pick West Virginia all the way through, you know,
Sure.
West Virginia, you know, now how realistic is it? You know, that's why I had to do 2 brackets because, you know, the other bracket, I was like, okay, West Virginia's not going to beat them.
You know, one with your head and one with your heart.
Yeah. And I did think that West Virginia was going to win the first game. You know, I didn't know about, you know, moving forward. Right. But yeah, I mean, and then I think Sherelle's husband, Steve, was at I think EDU, you know, East Carolina University.
Right.
ECU. So we were up last night, you know, thinking like, oh, they made it, you know. And so in the bracket, I picked them. Yeah, because he was like, yeah, you got to pick up. You know, then you do a second bracket for what you think is real, you know.
Exactly.
Oh man.
I mean, it's such a great time of the year, though, isn't it? I mean, It's so nice to see the focus and you know, me coming from the women's side, it's nice to see that, you know, from that little video that the player posted where the inequities were happening, and now to see them changed and different things happening for the women, it's kind of nice to watch now because now you feel both are getting their due.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, I have just as much joy watching the women as the men, and a lot of that has to do with you know, my wife playing,
sure,
and then my daughter playing. So they gave me a different perspective. You know, when you look at men's basketball and women's basketball, you know, and so I get the same kind of joy,
sure,
you know, out of watching both of them.
Well, and I think that, you know, the people look and say, like now the product, if you're a real basketball enthusiast, like you can watch women's basketball knowing it's a good product, and it always has been. It just hasn't gotten the same notoriety. But I really do think the 3-point line has really helped the women's game. You know, because, you know, most of the time the women teams, they play beneath the rim. You know, very few can dunk. It's not usual.
Right.
You know, and so people, you know, kind of poo-pooed that, you know, the game. But now with the 3-point line, you know, women like, you know, your Caitlin Clarks from Iowa, you know, all of a sudden you're like, wow, you know, people can, you know, women can shoot now. They're really part of the integral part of the game because the guys are doing more that as well. So I think it's really helped the women's game a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they can shoot that ball.
Yes.
You know, and you know, the weirdest thing is that, you know, you go to an AAU game. I went to see my son Isaiah was coaching AAU, and I went to a game. You know, I actually drove him up to the game and stuff like that. And I was watching the game, and he was playing against a team, and they did not shoot not one layup the whole game. They just pulled up from 3, you know, every single time. And I was thinking, like, back in the day, my coach would have like crucified me, man. Did you just shoot that ball from out there?
I think of when I see somebody, as you mentioned, they drive to the paint and they're under the basket, they jump stop and then they kick it out. I would have said, come here, have a seat right here. You know? You're a big girl, you know?
Right.
In your post. But the game has changed that way for sure.
Yeah, and I think that it's not either or. You know, I think you got to have, when you have that layup, you got to shoot it.
Yeah.
You know, and when you have that 3, you got to take it. I mean, and then you got to add in some medium range. You know, that goes with the game. So yeah, it's just more of a balance. Whereas, you know, back in the day, you may feed your low post. Right. Because you figure like if I keep feeding the low post, you can't stop me. I'm bigger than, you know, my girl's bigger than your girl, you know. And then when you drop down, now you kick it back out, you get a good shot.
Right.
Closer is always better. Now the philosophy is further is always better.
Well, I agree with your blend. I mean, look what the UConn Iona game. You know, when UConn went inside, Iona had few answers once the big guys from Connecticut started, you know, really getting the ball and doing their work. But you need somebody to stretch the defense, but you still need the big people also.
Oh, you do. Yeah. Include them in the game, you know. And then now the you know, what kind of positionless, you know, not everybody. I mean, I think Rick Pitino, I always say that Rick Pitino is one of the most impressive player developers, you know, I had ever seen, because he had a philosophy back in the day is that you train big people like guards, you know, your big men like guards, and you treat your guards like big men, and they get the experience what it's like to do both. Right. And so when you find yourself inside as a guard, you know, some of the skills that's necessary to be successful down low. And then the big guy knows to be able to take that shot outside so you don't limit yourself. And that's what we see today in basketball, particularly European basketball, and now is entered into America. And so everybody's shooting threes now.
Well, I remember some of the drills that we did at Fairfield. One day a week or one day every 2 weeks, we would flip positions. So we'd have the post bring the ball up. You know, they would be guards and guards would post low. Right to your point, because a lot of times the post would say they don't know what it's like to get hit on the paint. You know, they don't know what it's like. And the post player's like, how come they're missing me? I'm open and the guards aren't hitting me. So we flipped the positions, and boy, that was an awakening. You know, like you see the post player at that time bringing the ball up and the guards posting in, but you know, that really kind of made them understand how hard it was from both positions.
Yeah, and that's how I grew up. My coach at the boys club always played us in all the positions. You didn't know when you're little, you don't know if you're gonna stop growing or you're gonna grow tall. And you know, he kind of with the whole Scooter and Rodney McRae back in the day, we used to reverse roles, and they were always big, you know. And the next thing you know, that you seen Scooter, you know, at the time he was 6'7", you know, 11 to 12, 13 years old, bringing the ball down, you know, and Rodney on the other side, and you throw it to Rodney, and they're shooting jump shots and passing down low to the guards, and then we reverse, you know, and then you switch, and next thing you know, when we get to high school, like everybody can just grab the ball off the rim and just kind of go, and then they became kind of point forwards in the several championships that they won for Louisville. And then Rodney went on to the NBA. He ended up being a point forward, right? Because he knew how to handle the ball and shoot the ball. Right. I mean, you know, so yeah, I mean, the game is evolving. I mean, whether we like it or not, it is.
But you still got to be able to dribble. You still have to be able to shoot. And the one thing that really doesn't get you so aggravated is the free throws. Like I remember going to a basketball clinic early in my career, and it was UB Brown. And he was giving a lecture, and he said, I don't care if it's bitty basketball, middle school, junior high, high school, college, pros, it always comes down to free throws. And they haven't, you know, that line hasn't changed since you've been, you know, since you picked up a ball. And when you see people there, I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, that's a skill that no matter where the game evolves, as the rules stand, it's going to be so important.
Oh yeah. I you know, I kind of cringe sometimes when I see people go to the free throw line. I'm like, because this is it. You know, it come down. Somebody's gonna foul you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, yeah. I was screaming. I don't know who it was, and we was going back and forth. I was like, look, it's a 3-point game. It's a few seconds left. I'm not letting them shoot a 3-pointer. I'm gonna foul them. You know, we go to the free throw line.
Oh, absolutely. And you have the 10 seconds. And I think because of, you know, today's youth and players with the phones and everything's quick, you know, looking down and you want to say, take your 10 seconds. When was the last time you saw somebody get violated for going over 10 seconds at the free throw line? I mean, the officials don't even count anymore, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, other than other than the NBA Giannis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giannis, he was up there for like an hour. They was like, and then the fans made him a better free throw shooter because they started counting. Then he started making free throws. I said, y'all better stop counting because now he's getting this thing down pat.
Exactly.
But hey, no referees in college and high school, they're not even counting.
No. And I remember that being called as when I was coaching. I can remember a few times you'd say, hurry up, And I would say to players when I'm doing the broadcasting, hey, it's more air time. Give yourself some more time on the air.
Yeah. Oh, man. See, let's go back to a little bit of coaching. You had some amazing teams. And so, this is my kind of curiosity question. I seen this picture. I was thinking, go back to that one again. What is that picture?
All right. That, believe it or not, that is me. And the person kneeling down, looking up, our coach, is my mother.
Wow.
I was coached in high school for 2 years by my mother, who was a legendary coach in her own, won over 300 games, was a plaque in the Naismith Hall of Fame. And that was, and look what we were wearing. We were wearing
some dresses.
Yes, we had tunics with bloomers underneath. So it was 6-girl basketball.
6 girls?
Yeah, 2 guards, 2 forwards, and 2 rovers. Can you imagine being a stationary guard? All you did was play defense, and the only thing you could do is if you got fouled, you could shot a free throw. And then 2 people just did offense, and then 2 players could cross the midcourt line, and they were the rovers.
Okay, so my mom was playing that back in the day.
Yeah.
I had some pictures of my mom. She was 3 people on one side, 3 people on defense, 3 people on offense.
Right.
And they played against each other.
Crossover. And when I first started playing, get this, for girls, back in CYO elementary, you could only dribble the ball 3 times. So it was 3 dribbles and you had to pick up. That's why women or girls could always jump stop because we had to. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Nah, I can't imagine.
So now,
I used to laugh at my mom. So, she could imagine, but I couldn't imagine. Not the way people like to dribble today. They just
when I went on to college, it was 5. So that was, and I felt badly for the kids, my teammates who were guards, because when they went to college, their first year, it was 5 girls. So then they had to shoot the ball. And for their whole high school career, they were guards. I mean, they were, literally playing defense.
Wow. And so high school, and then what happens after high school?
I went to Glassboro State. It's now Rowan, and I played basketball. That was the era that you could play more than one collegiate sport. So I played field hockey and I played basketball, and I played tennis in the spring. And played for 4 years there, and had a good, I was a guard, I was a point guard,
right.
So I had a good career there, and then from there, I knew I wanted to coach or be a professor in college, so I got a teaching assistant out at West Virginia University.
Yeah,
I was a mountaineer.
Go mountain years, yeah.
And I know that was. What a great experience, but I had no idea where I was going. Rowan was very close to my house in New Jersey, so I really didn't go away to school. I mean, I lived like in a little townhouse there, but West Virginia gave me the most money for a stipend, and I had to, there were no scholarships then. I had to, pay my way. So I had a little white Volkswagen, drove to Morgantown. I had no idea where I was going. Knew no one. And
wow.
Drove into Morgantown, knocked on a door, got a room, and then when school began, I met some people. But what a great university! I mean, that was life changing for me. It was.
Is it totally over coaching now? Because West Virginia got an opening now, I think.
No. Well, actually, when I went to West Virginia, I thought I wanted. Wasn't sure I wanted to coach, and I was their first female athletic trainer.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
You
And
did everything. You could tape ankles and coach them.
Whitey Gwynn was the person in the training room, and I was the first female he let in, you know. But I hated sitting that end of the bench.
Yeah, so you did a role reversal. You switched roles.
This is not for me.
Oh man.
Sorry, I was the type of person, as your wife knows, you know, I was a bad trainer, because if you were hurt, I would just tape you up and say, go back in. You know, I wasn't very sympathetic to your injury or whatever. And your wife, who I was lucky enough to played for me, to get her to come to Fairfield, she was very much of that mold. I mean, remember when she got the stitches in her head, and she wanted to still keep playing, and her injuries, there she is. I mean, it was funny when you called and we were talking about coaching success. I said, yeah, I became successful when your wife came to Fairfield and brought her friends.
Yeah, you see all them pictures right there.
Yeah, there they are. Oh boy, what a great crew. I mean, they were really good players. Oh my gosh, there's Katrina. There's a dynamic duo. They were awesome, and what a great role model, and actually changing the culture at Fairfield. You know, I attribute Tracy and Katrina and John Warner from Mount Vernon as well. You know, the Fairfield University was not very diverse at that time. You know, at all, and they really helped change the culture of the school, and by who they were and how they represented Mount Vernon, and I was really proud to have them, you know, as part of our program and our campus, and they're well loved, you know, at the university, and they changed it in many ways. So that's something, you know, athletics can do for you. You know, they certainly were so they were incredible on the team. You know, they changed the games. They changed, you know, our win loss. You know, just the whole level of our playing. But then they also, you know, people knew them, and the way they represented themselves throughout the campus really left a mark, not only in the court but in the classroom as well. So I was, you know, and that's something that you hope that happens through athletics, and they certainly did. So they were fun to coach, that's for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and I got a chance to see a few of those games because my wife and I started to date, you know, date in the I think her sophomore year.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we played at Siena, I think Treese was a junior then, and you were playing for the Albany Patroons, and we brought the team over to watch you play because we were staying overnight at Siena, and came over and watched you play.
Yeah, no, that was good times.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think, wasn't Phil Jackson, I thought, was your coach?
Yeah, Phil Jackson was the coach.
And we were all there going like, oh, there's Lowe's. And we're like, because you weren't married, I don't think, then yet. And we were like, you know, shoving Patrice, like, there he is. You know, you were passing the test.
Yeah, there was good times. It was really good times. I mean, to watch you guys play, you guys were competitive.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved it. And, you know, her father was very involved.
Oh, money.
Yeah,
remember, his father would sit in the stands, and if anyone of any of the Stags were at the free throw line, any of our players at the free throw line, he would just sit there and yell, money. And, I mean, it gave me the confidence, and like you were like, after a while, like, you don't want to let Mr. Wallace down. You know,
oh man,
he was a great supporter of us, and he would walk in and smile on his face. There's Tracy. Oh gosh, and some of those banners in the back are, you know, they all represent you know, what she and her teammates were able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all, you know, just an awesome experience back then. I mean, yeah, Alumni Hall was packed.
Oh, absolutely. It was like our our sixth player. I mean, it was such a great feeling. I remember my first game there. We had no heat in the locker room, and that was when Title IX had just come into effect, and they just really started a women's team. And we were sitting outside of the locker room, and the vice president was there. What's women's team doing sitting out on the floor? And I yelled out, because there's no heat in the locker room. We had heat.
And now you got it's a brand new arena.
How about it? I mean, it's awesome. Leo Mahoney Center. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that was, I think my whole tenure at Fairfield, we had like 3 different plans for the upgrading of Alumni Hall, and it never came about. They were going to do this, they were going to do that. And now it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think they did it right size. People always say, oh, you got to make it bigger. But, the campus wouldn't support that. And now it's going to be a packed house. And what a great treat for the players and the fans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a great tool for getting more great players.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
more great coaches wanting to come in. Yeah, as well.
Yes. I mean, they did it right. And what a great, community place, and also for the students. That was the hard thing when they moved to Bridgeport. Students don't have a whole lot of time. So now they can roll out of their dorms, walk to the arena, watch it, be part of it without getting on a bus, going through traffic. The students don't have that time. So I'm excited that they have an on-campus environment again.
I'm excited with you. I mean, everybody likes big arenas, but when it's a ghost town.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And so when it went out there, I was like, I don't know if I like this, but when it went back, I mean, man, that was just great, great. And regardless, it was the Alumni Hall was kind of a small, intimate piece, and so going there, man, you right there, all the fans
right on top of you.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's why some of those arenas like Duke.
Yeah.
Technical difficulty going on.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a little technical difficulty. Yeah, we back now. There we go. Yeah. Hey, technology, it's good. It ain't perfect, but it's good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned Duke. I remember when we took our team down there, we would always ask our juniors, like, where would they want to play before they graduated? And one year the juniors wanted to play down at Duke. So we went down there, and you're right. I mean, a place like Cameron, I mean, those fans are right on you.
Oh yeah, screaming and yelling, and
Yes.
I actually drove there. I was at the game. I took the little tour. You was in East Carolina, and I drove down and got my brothers. They were in North Carolina, and we drove over and watched you guys against Duke. I mean, who wouldn't want those experience? I mean, to play, if you're in a small school, to play against. It could be tough sometimes in terms of the outcome, but they're getting experiences, and they get older, and they say, yeah, I played at Duke, I played at Kansas. I mean,
Sure.
And so that's very powerful.
Yes. And I remember we went in the locker room, and I still have a practice plans of Mike Krzyzewski. We were shooting around after one of their practices, and he left them on the desk, so I went over and grabbed it. So I still have it. And I went to see, what did he do? And you realize basketball is just basketball. He had his drills down there and situations and what he was covering. And I'm like, there's no magic here. It's how you teach it and who's doing it. But, it was it was a good experience for our players.
Yeah. And I don't know how to say, I don't know, like to say it sometimes, but, they say all good things come to an end. Right. And you were at Fairfield, had a wonderful career there. And what was your thought process? I mean, because I just, I was at the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon for 27 years. And I'm thinking, like, I never really thought about, like, okay, what's next? What is there a next chapter? I never even thought about the next chapter, and I just happened to be in September of 2019. And I'm sitting there and I was writing out a vision plan. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't written a vision plan before. So I'm laying out these vision plans. What do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? And you start answering these questions about, but you're still not thinking, even after you make the plan, you're still not thinking like this is, of doing something else, because it's something you love to do. Love being somewhere, love being there. And I get into December of it and it becomes a question,
Right.
and well, what do I do next? I mean, so you never think of it as ending. So what was your thoughts? I mean, you're at Fairfield, you had a great career there, and now what? I mean,
Right.
Yeah. What was your?
I remember it was hard because given the choice, I wasn't ready to leave, and administration wanted to change, and so when that happens, it's like everything in life. When you get a roadblock or something happens, how are you going to handle it? And it was difficult. At the time, we had that, administration, we had that difficult conversation, and, going into a locker room of players that you really liked and wanted to, still be with, and change was going to happen. And then, of course, when you sit home, I have, Mark and I have 3 boys, and that night was a slow night on ESPN, and on the crawler, it came through 43 times. I can always remember. Diane, Nolan leaves Fairfield, and I'm like, oh man. And the boys were, I think the twins were still in high school, and now you got to go, and your mom, is leaving Fairfield, whatever. And then, but as God, always has a plan for you. Sometimes you just don't know what it is, and I knew I at the time I didn't have a vision plan because I wasn't kind of ready, but I thought I could still contribute to the game, and I was lucky enough that I wanted to stay in the profession, and I was offered the assistant coaching position at Yale, and that means I didn't have to move. And at the time, my mother was sickly, but we moved. Mark and I, my husband, are high school sweethearts, and we had moved both sets of our parents from New Jersey to Connecticut, and then my mom was sickly at the time, so I knew I didn't want to leave the area, and so I had to figure out what I was going to do in the area. And luckily enough, I got the assistant coaching position at Yale, so I didn't have to move. And that was a whole different thing because I had never been an assistant before.
I know. I was just getting ready to say what.
I started at St. Francis and I was the head coach. I was at Fairfield as the head coach, and now I go and be an assistant. And I'm like, whoa. And I was very grateful for the opportunity. So I did but when you talk about technology, I had to go back and learn how to scout from the videos and the films. And before I would just have an assistant do it.
Right.
Hey, John, can you do this? Or, Paige, can you do that? Or whatever. Now it's Diane doing it.
Yeah. I went back in time over here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, holy cow, how do I do this? But you figure it out. And it was good, and then after Yale, I kind of rejuvenated me to want to coach. And then after that, I got the job out at Lafayette. And then at some point, it's time. You're not doing. You have certain levels that you want to achieve, and you're not doing it, and so you need to change. And I think it's God's way of saying, I want you over here. It's time. Job, let's go over here. And so then you kind of know that it's time. And,
right.
And then when you leave it's fond memories. You feel good. But now you're on to your next journey.
Right.
And,
yeah. It's like 2 years ago, I got a call from one of my friends in West Virginia. Hey, man, we're going to play. It's like during the pandemic pandemic is not at its max. You know, I don't even know if it's slowing down. We kind of in the middle of it. And he called me up and say, hey, Lowe's, we playing in this this tournament, right? You know, 60 to 65. Won't you come down and play with us? And I was like, it's in August. So I say yes without even thinking about it. It's like May. And I say yes. And and then we get closer to August, and I'm thinking like, no. I'm like that. You know, in the pandemic. Right. Yeah. It was just like, it was a good thought when he said it. And it was so far away that I said yes, and then, you know, forgot about it. And then he started calling me at the end of July. Hey, you ready? I'm like, what? But I hadn't played ball. I used to walk and swim and then play on Saturdays. So, you know, I had a little rhythm, and I had played in a few tournaments before then and played well, you know, but I hadn't played this whole time. So I decided I better go shoot somewhere, you know, so, and I go down and soon I fly in and we play that night. I get to the gym. My body was like, what's happening? What's going on? You know, like, you lost your mind? You know, so and I didn't start. And then when I got in the game, it was like I knew I was in one move condition, you know. One move on offense, one move on defense. I had come to the realization that my playing days were over. You know, like, I mean, over. You know, I mean, the pandemic retired me, you know.
Right.
You know, there's no getting out there. Yeah. And you get that moment. You're just like, you don't want it. Right. You don't want it. I was like, oh man. But you have to come to the realization, it's time to do something
else. Yeah. And it doesn't make you any, you know, less valuable or whatever, but when it's been such a part of your life, you know, it's always there, you know, and you can, you know, and then you find different ways. You know, you play your horse, or you play.
That's what my wife was saying. You could play horse.
Exactly. You know, so when it's part of you, it's part of your fabric, you know, so it's never going to go away, but you're just doing it differently and different. And you can always still appreciate. What I love about it is you can still appreciate it. You know, when I'm watching the March Madness, don't you, as like a player, like, oh, I would have done that move, and I would have said, oh, make this adjustment. Where's your press offense? Do this.
Yeah. You were the driver, and now you're the backseat driver.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, you're like, oh, man.
You know, I hate to even. I was like, man, I'll be like, no, there's no way in the world that person could guard me right now.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
but
why are you doing that move? You know?
Yeah, and then my kids like, well, I don't know, man, about what you talking about. Yeah. So, you know, real quick, let's talk about family, man. I mean, you was talking about your mom, and man, you know, you got family going on here.
Like I mentioned, Mark and I started dating our senior year in high school, and we've been together since, and got blessed with 3 boys, Zach, and then John and Andrew are twins, and Zach, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. You really got them out. There we are. Wow. And then Zach, one of our sons, our oldest, is married and has 3 daughters. So I've got 3 granddaughters, and my son John is engaged, and our other twin, Andrew, there's one of our granddaughters, Gracie. So we've got Grace, Eleanor, and Caroline. So that's us babysitting.
Yeah, well, that's the new chapter.
Oh, absolutely. And then we got one Andrew and his girlfriend are out in Glendale, California. So family. And like I mentioned earlier, Mark and I moved both sets of our parents up to Connecticut. So they've always been part of our family. We each have one brother, and very close with them as well. So we're very blessed with our family, and very important part of what drives us, you know, and why we, you know, who we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think, you know, faith, family, education is the three pillars of
Yes.
success. You know, what could you do without faith or family or education? I mean,
Oh, exactly. And your faith, I mean, your faith gets you through hard times and is the reason why you have good times, you know, and you
mhm,
gotta, you know, I happen to be Roman Catholic and all raised our sons that way as well. And they went to Jesuit universities and I think have some core values. And I remember um, we always would, and I remember your wife, we would always say a prayer before our games. And I went to St. Mary's, so we always said the Hail Mary, and we
mhm.
would say that, and that's what my mother used when we played. And your wife said to me, "Can you write?" I always remember this. Can you write down the name that prayer? And I looked at her because I had always been going to a Catholic school, and I said, "It's the Hail Mary," and she goes, "Yes, but you know we don't know that." And it dawned on me that you know Catholicism isn't the only religion. And so then we shifted to the Our Father. I asked her, I said, what, you know, and that opened my eyes to there are many religions all with the same, you know, core values, you know,
Mhm.
and the importance that everyone's personal religion is to them.
Right.
And that really opened my eyes of how important, and rather than just go along and say it, they wanted to be a part of it.
Mm.
And so, you know, I think faith is so important, regardless of, you know, what your faith is, that it gives you some, you know, it's the core of who you are.
Yeah. 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 And you know, family and education is so important. I mean, you know,
That was one of my proudest statistics. You know, 100% graduation rate of the people who came and stayed for the 4 years. I mean, and we had very many first generation, you know, college educated student athletes, and that was important to us.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's some people who didn't. I know in some stories I've read, there's some football coaches and basketball coaches uh, who did okay as a team, right? But they were excellent as students,
Right.
and but they end up getting fired because. But I always thought it was a student athlete. The student part was most important than the basketball part. But you get fired because you didn't, you know, you only 60% of your games, you know,
Right.
but you got 100% of the young people graduating. So yeah, you know, some mixed messages in there.
Yes. Yeah. But we all know the importance of all three. You know.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes, you know, who you better and the world better.
Right. Um, how did you transition? Um, how did you transition from now coaching into, you know, color commentating,
Oh, the broadcast.
analyst? Yeah, the whole broadcast
Well,
piece.
it's funny when I after Lafayette, when I came back to Fairfield, one of my former players is Trish Fabry, and Trish is the head coach at Quinnipiac, and I wanted to always stay involved with the game. You know, I wanted to either be on somebody's bench at the end, you know, or some involvement because I, you know, love the game. And she said, "Would you be interested in doing radio up at
Mm.
Quinnipiac for our games?" So I said, okay. And I knew nothing about radio, you know, and so I went up there and Bob Mortale was the play-by-play person, and I was going to be the color analyst. And he taught me so much. And I started doing the radio, and we would do the radio home and away. So we would travel with the team, which was really fun. I was back on a team bus, and you know, a different part of it. And then, and that was only for the women. And then Quinnipiac dropped radio. So they got they disbanded their radio station, and I was asked to be the sideline commentator for both the men and the women. So I started on the sidelines and just would interview a coach before halftime, after the game, and twice during the broadcast they would come to the sideline. And then the following year they said, "Listen, we want you to be part of the crew and do all of the home games for men and women." So then I became part of a two-person crew with Steve Lennox and Bill Mecca, and that's kind of springboarded my career a little bit. Then the MAAC had asked me to go, and I did the Disney Challenge. I went over to Ireland this year and did the MAAC tournament down in Atlantic City. So now I'm a analyst, and for men and women, which is exciting, and it's so different than what you think. A lot of people I think the analyst just shows up, but the preparation that you need to do, and I find myself, especially a woman on a men's game, sometime for people to validate, why I belong a little bit. It's the same kind of preparation. Like I'm watching Synergy and I'm watching games. If I own a men are playing, Quinnipiac men, or I own a women are playing, I'll watch the 3 previous games, find out what their tendencies, who they're, what they're doing to be able to commentate. So I transitioned into that and I'm really enjoying it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's people assume different things, like it probably assume, okay, Lowe's just pops on the blueprint every Sunday, and he just sits at home and just waits for it's research. You got to know who you're speaking to. I don't know everybody sometimes, so you got to get to know them. You end up having to find out, pictures, if you can find any information.
What you did this morning, I'm looking, I'm like, that took time. I know.
Oh yeah, it does take time. I mean, and it's tedious because we're not only actually just popping stuff on, but I gotta prep it, because you can't just take a picture and pop it on,
right,
or video pop it on. You gotta record it, you gotta straighten it out, you gotta cut it, edit it. So it's a lot of things that go with it, and yeah, it's not just popping on. So it's the same thing for journalists. I mean, you got to do your due diligence. I mean, to be ready if you're going to be your best.
Right, and if you're going to be fair to the players, pronunciations and now with all the games being able to be watched with ESPN Plus and 3, and you want to make sure that if somebody's family members are watching, that you're showing their child in their best light. Give them their due. If they're messing up, you're going to say, but you're calling the game, but you want to give them, their fair due. And understand that there's somebody's child.
Yeah, and you messing up the name over there. Yeah. It was Isaiah played in the National Wheelchair Basketball Championships over the weekend, and Friday I watched the game. I was watching. I mean, yeah, the technology was incredible. They were in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and the technology and everything was incredible. And watching the game, and they kept saying, first of all, they didn't know Isaiah's name, so when he was in the game, he said, such and such, Mr. Shah, and then it's one of their best players, his name was St. Remy. And I was like, he kept saying, and St. Remy takes another shot. And I'm like, that's not St. Remy.
Yes.
You're messing up the broadcast.
Exactly. And that's something that, and some of the names are really challenging. I mean, some of the so many of the teams now are recruiting internationally, and some of the names, all of a sudden you look and you're like, well, like Nelly, Joseph Jr., and you got to get all that in,
right.
And you're sitting with the sports information directors, their SIDs, like, how do you pronounce this? And then you're writing little notes, like little keys. So, because you got to say it quickly, and you want to make sure you get it right.
Yeah. So
there's a lot more that people, that when you see the finished product, there's a lot that goes behind it. Just like playing. You know, when you see a game, there's so much, you know, preparation before a game. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I want to pop on Patrice. She's going to join us here.
Oh, wonder. Hey, Tracy, how you doing, lady?
Can't hear you. You on mute.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Now we can.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. How are you?
Good. How you doing, lady?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear me? Or you get an echo, or is it okay?
No, it's fine. It's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, you can stop moving.
I'm going to stop moving. I just want to make sure you had good sound because I hear echo, but that's okay. So it's first I want to say thank you for allowing me to come to Fairfield University. You know, back in the day, it was really a great experience. I don't think that young people necessarily understand that coaching is not just about people, you know, screaming and yelling at you to do what they want, but it's really a development of people as individuals. You know, I've always told people that, you know, that you were hard on us, but it helped me to become successful in my career as a woman. You know, adversity and hearts and struggles. Sometimes coaches represent that for us in life and help us to get to the next level. So, you know, if nobody tells you they appreciate you, I do appreciate you for being that person that pushed me to the next, pushed me to my best. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. And you know, and when you think back of your careers, like you think like, was I too hard? Was I this and that? But I think you remember Title IX had come in and people thought that maybe we weren't deserving. So I always believe that, you know, we got to play the best we can. We got to do the best we can because so much is on the line. And I always wanted you and everyone to reach their potential and be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that goes through some struggles, you know, and I want to always treat people fairly. So, I mean, you know, if you miss practice, I don't care who you were, flat tire, snowstorm, you were still running. No excuses because you never knew where to draw the line. And like this excuse was better than this one. So, but
I also you brought up an interesting point that I talked about this week. Matter of fact, this weekend, and that was the stitches. I think I was in my senior year or my junior year, one of them, and we were playing against Holy Cross and went on a layup. I stole the ball, scored. And as I was coming back up, I was so fast that I had scored before the girl could catch me. And I was turning around, coming back up court, and she was still trying to catch me. And we ran into each other head first, and a Y split over my eyebrow. And what I remember more than anything, ambulance came. My mom was the only one there. And before we left, you said, don't let anybody touch her face. Make sure there's a plastic surgeon there. And I always appreciate that because there's 56 stitches that went over my face, but nobody would ever know that I had 56 stitches because you had the wisdom to tell them not to let an emergency room doctor put stitches in my face, but for a plastic surgeon. And it stuck with me so much that years later, when my girls were like 5 and 3, I got hit in the same exact spot, a little bit higher. And when we went to the emergency room, I said, I want a plastic surgeon. And so how it comes full circle is this past weekend on Friday night, our grandson got hit his head and he had to go to the hospital for stitches. And I told my daughter, is it on his face? She said, yes. I said, get a plastic surgeon. And I always remember how you made sure that my face did not. And when I never forget when I called my husband to tell him that I was hurt because I was married at the time. And he knew that I was always getting hurt. He was my knee, my ankle. There was always something, you know. And yeah, you know, and he said, not your face. I was like, my face. So, but, you know, I always tell people, I said, you know, I scored 880 points at Fairfield University. I had 3 knee operations fractured an ankle, 56 stitches, was part of the record of assists. And I said, imagine how much more dangerous I might have been had I been able to play all the games that I missed. I would have been 1,000-point scorer, more than likely, you know, any of those things. But you know what? I gave it everything that I had, and that was what was most important, you know, was to give it everything you had. I was sorry that we never got a chance to go to the MAAC. We were winning against St. Peter's, the last game of my career, and that girl clipped me, and we went out, and I never played again, because we were up like 8 or something like that when I went down, and we ended up losing the game to St. Peter's, and they went on to win the MAAC championship. So I always thought that was our year. And Katrina broke her kneecap that year.
Right, I remember that.
Shauna Wilkerson went out with a knee. Pam Rivers went out with a knee.
Right.
And I was the only one hanging in there with with a really good team. We had, that, and next thing you know, we're there, and I go down with a knee, and I'm like, all the black kids went out with their knees by the time the season was over. But I'm grateful for you and Mark and Lenny Petrocelli.
Yes.
Lenny Petrocelli.
Speaking of Lenny, I got a quick story. This past week, Lenny now is an assistant at Fairfield Ward Boys High School, and he's been there for a while. And they were playing a state championship game, and Mark and I went to the game, and it was so good to see Lenny, just to support Lenny. It was a Wednesday night, and he's at the end of the bench, and he's talking to the players and things. I'm like, God bless him. I mean,
yeah, that's still Lenny.
Lenny, they don't get better than Coach.
Nope. No, and then you took us. Diane never took a team somewhere that she didn't take you sightseeing, right? So we go to Florida to play during the Orange Bowl. And we would go to the Orange Bowl parade. We had a situation one time where we all decided to walk to McDonald's or Wendy's or somewhere, and there was like a racial riot. And Diane, we were like at this restaurant. Diane was at the hotel, and she said, "Get back here, get back here!" And we're trying to get back.
No cell phones either. No cell phones. No social media.
We didn't know we weren't that far away, and we didn't know whether the black people should go in front of the white people or whether the white people should go in front of the black people, because we didn't know the level of the racism stuff going on. We were freaking out. We got back to the hotel, and Diane's eyes were like this big, like you
were like hiding under some cabinet and some.
We were so scared because it was something that was moving, like whatever this situation was, it was actually moving, like the people were the fighting or whatever was moving up the road, and we were there, and the people in the restaurant said, "You got to get out of here." And we were just like kids, just walking down.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. I remember that. You were hiding under. I think I was walking up the block trying to get you to come back.
No cell phones. So we were just out there, like there was nobody to rescue us at that point. But we played, and I remember being at the Orange Bowl parade, and this guy jumped in our van. He was trying to get my number. I was like, I'm engaged. Diane was like, get out. We had fun.
Oh, we did. We had so much fun. And that was something that we always try to do. Remember the different trips that we would take, and we would go and see. That was that full experience. You wanted to make sure that you got to get out of the hotel room. Like I would always say, why go to Florida if you're not going to go see something? You go next door. You might take advantage of it.
And Sherelle talked about that too. She said, whenever she went somewhere, she goes, Diane was like, okay, we're in Philadelphia. Let's see the Liberty Bell. If we're here,
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think of your wedding and now Sherelle's wedding when it comes full circle. Oh my gosh. I can remember at your wedding when there were a couple of NBA players there and we're all there. And Liz Sterling said, "Can I get their autograph?" And I go, "No, it's Tracy's wedding."
I remember.
They wouldn't have mind.
I remember Donna Margine caught the garter.
Yes.
At my wedding.
I remember, like, oh my gosh, here we are. And what a wonderful wedding. I mean, what a wonderful love story. I mean,
Yeah.
you all are role models, not only for your immediate family, but for so many. I know when Sherelle was coaching, you became like the surrogate mother to a lot of the players. And, the way that you two have been able to affect lives and give back. And now to see your children do the same, it's got to be rewarding, but you influence so many people, with your gifts. So, kudos to you. No, I really mean that. You've done a whole lot for many people.
We learn from the best.
Yeah, we all learn from the best, and we appreciate that. I mean, sometimes you don't hear it, but it's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah, and that's what athletics does. You're lucky,
Yeah, I mean that's the power of it.
Yeah.
It crosses culture.
Yes.
Right. And if you didn't know about the culture, well, you learn through the players and families, and and it's vice versa.
It's a different type of sorority / fraternity, we didn't, Lowe's and I, we always laugh because we never joined a sorority or a fraternity, but we always say we did because our teammates were our sorority and fraternity. I'm still connected to Liz Sterling. We talk, Trina's, I always call her roomie, I don't see them as much, but whenever I connect with them, I'm not sure if Katrina's dad just passed away about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I reached out to her, but it's like, you just stay connected to your teammates, because they become your sisters, your sisters for life. And so I'm grateful that I had the relationships with the girls, the ones that played with me and the ones that came after. Like you said, when my daughter played, I've stayed connected with, some of the girls on her team, and now I'm part of the Fairfield Athletic Advisory Board.
Right.
And so I go to the games and, and do some, try to keep up with those kids. So it's important to try to stay connected to your school.
Oh, absolutely. And being connected with the game. I mean, I always think basketball brings out your true character. Like you can't lie on a basketball court. When you're playing, you've got to be a good teammate. You've got to, face pressures, and you've got to stick to a game plan and your role in that plan. And it exposes so much. And when you go through those situations with people, they're your friends for life because you've been through a situation that not many people have and different.
Exactly. And I'm going to get off because I know Lowe's is going to close out, but I want you to know that I love you and Mark.
And I love you.
And thank you so much for being a part of my life and forever. It's not like it's a part of our life and it's gone. I mean, we stay connected, forever. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, it's mutual. Thank you. As my husband said, I started winning when the Mount Vernon kids came.
Well, and the artist that he was, he knew he always took. And I don't know, Lowe's, if you know that Mark is an incredible artist, and he used to draw portraits of all of us and everything that was going on every year. So you know how the guy from the Con Ed does the artistry. Mark is that good.
Oh,
and I did put in.
I need to see some work.
I also put in my comments that Mark is also a twin. And so there's Mark and his twin brother. We're identical, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then they had a set of twins. So, so they kept it going. So,
so he's a twin. So you sure you got the right?
I got to in college a couple times.
And they had the Bible names because it's Mark and Paul, right? It was a Paul. Yeah. And then she had John and Andrew.
And John and Andrew. We're covering all the apostles.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's
I love you, Di.
Love you, honey.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we just remember those times. It's great times.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, unforgettable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and sports is just so amazing. I mean, I love the commercial, particularly in the NCAA's, where it says that, about the student athlete. Not everybody's going to make it to to the field or the court professionally, but they will all become professionals.
Yes.
At something other than sports. I mean, and so that's what I love about it. Sports have given everybody an opportunity to get an education, quality education, higher education, and then end up finding your career, finding your niche, and getting involved in it. And you help to develop a lot of these. Patrice was just saying, helping. And my coaches is hopefully helping boys become men, and women, girls become women, and mature, and set the stage for preparation for the future, and then have what I consider is most important is true, genuine, extended families.
Yes.
So
yes, I mean, when you go through all the situations that you do as a team member, like Patrice mentioned, like a sorority, you just, there's a bond there that's unbreakable. So you're right. Like when someone has a relative who passes, like, Tobin Rice, Saber's father just passed away, and I did not know Katrina's, and you call and you just remember, and there's a bond there that, you're never alone. You always have teammates.
Right.
And they're there to help you, and in the good times and the bad times, when people are struggling, you get a phone call and say, hey, look, you're going down a bad path, or you need something, that it's that bond that's really unbreakable.
Yeah. But Diane, I want to thank you, man. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
I feel honored. And thank you for all what you do. I mean, you're a wonderful citizen of Mount Vernon, but more globally than that, you've taught a lot of people a lot of good things, and through the Boys and Girls Clubs, through just you being you. And so thank you for making the world a little better.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. And again, tell Mark I said hello.
I will.
Yeah, hugged all the kids and grandkids.
Oh, yeah, you do the same with and everybody, okay?
Yeah, I love you, and let Mama sign out now. Hope you guys enjoy this. I said each and every week, that this is a pebble in a pond. You just don't know the ripple effect. So when you get an opportunity, go to Lowe's More the Blueprint on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube, and you don't have to. You maybe not watched it now, but it stays on, so you can watch it in the future. And so God bless you. And I say each and every week, if God allows you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. Love you, and God bless you.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.